gentlemen, very warm welcome to Express Adda. Could you all please have, Your Holiness, I do not believe that it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday. This is unbelievable, unprecedented. This really is a very special Adda. Both Vandita Mishra, our opinions editor, and I, both Vandita and I are truly honored and humbled to have with us possibly one of the world's most influential people, someone who's been influential for many years now. Influential because one visit to Arunachal Pradesh sets off a diplomatic storm between New Delhi and Beijing. He's influential because his relentless fight for a free Tibet has attracted global attention from many, many powerful people. But I think we'll all agree that most importantly, he's influential because he has consistently championed the cause of humanity, of compassion, of free will, of love, and of democracy. And all this while, while wearing the world's most gentle, the world's most humble, and the world's most infectious smile. Your Holiness, it is absolutely our pleasure and honor. So glad you could make it, and welcome to Express Adda. Your Holiness, my first question is, you've been championing the cause of democracy for all these years now. Not in a long time, not since the Cold War, has the world been so polarized. If you look at anywhere in the world, Philippines, Turkey, India, US, UK, France, anywhere you look at, people are extremely polarized. Are we doing something wrong?
As just I mentioned there, basic human nature, we are social animal. So any social animal, emotional level, there is something to bring together. So therefore, since we are social animal, so we have what we call human compassion, sense of care, take care, others' well-being. That brings together. Then secondly, now scientists, number of scientists, through their sort of observation and also some experiment, basic human nature is more compassionate. So that is really the basis of our hope. I feel now, of course, the killing human being one another is part of human history. Like some other sort of animal, like tiger or these things. But then they mobilize for large scale fighting, killing, we usually call war. That's only among human beings. War also part of human history. But then, modern time, the destructive power much increase. So then, you see, the conflict really become very, very serious matter. I feel in 20th century, till early part of 20th century, I think one nation declare war on other nation. Every citizen of the country, without any question, proudly join war effort. That kind of thinking, later part of 20th century, no longer there. When government declare or about, thinking war, and then the citizen usually, quite often, express against the war. For example, the Vietnam War. Many Americans against the war, Vietnam War, like that. And then Kosovo War, and also the Iraq War, about to happen. Millions of people really express want peace against violence. So, the human being, I feel, becoming more mature, and also knowing if war comes, use this immense destructive power like nuclear weapon. And then, no winner. Everybody suffer. So therefore, I feel the later part of 20th century and the early part of 20th century, I think there's big change. One example, I always mentioning, particularly in front of my English friend, Maktali, I'm one of the admirer of European Union. So you are leaving now. You know, the one German, or say the professor, von Weizsäcker, as a nuclear physicist or quantum physicist. So I have keen interest in these things. So I get, lecture or explanation from late David Bohm and von Weizsäcker. So eventually, von Weizsäcker became a very close friend of mine. We both, then in 1990s, one occasion he mentioned, when he was young, as a young German, every German eye, French is their enemy. Similarly, in French eye, German is their enemy. Now that kind of thinking completely changed, he mentioned to me. So early part of 20th century, French, German, and English is fighting. Later part of 20th century, or even if at mid part, I think under the leadership of de Gaulle of France and Adda, German, eventually, and of course some sort of, I think, European, thinkers, made some contribution, then eventually create European Union. I often feel if European Union not develop, then I think last few decades may have some sort of fighting among member states. So therefore, this one indication, the people now really fed up violence in the basis, on the basis of sense of my nation, my sovereignty. The people now consider common interest is more important than just national interest. So these I really admire. So therefore, I think judging these things, I think there is more hopeful side.
So do you expect, at some point, will we have a world without organized violence?
I think theoretically possible. Now depend on our own effort, mainly through education and closer contact. Isolate people to people, and then sometimes remain a little bit skeptical. The only way to remove skepticism or suspicion, close friendship, that's the only way. For example, Now, unfortunately, even with name of religion, some sort of violence. Now between Christian and Muslim, and then within Muslim, Shia and Sunni. Now in Iraq, Syria, now this area. I think while we enjoying here, peaceful, joyful, same human brothers, sisters, killing, dying, and also death due to starvation. Thousands of young children. Really sad. When we saw picture, the dying child, very thin. How can we human beings, create that kind of situation and neglect another human brother, sisters dying? You still remain indifferently. I think very sad. So therefore, I fully committed to create sense of oneness of humanity. 7 billion human beings born same way. The way die same way. Then more important, everybody want happy life, peaceful life. So therefore, I usually is telling 7 billion human beings, mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. So therefore, and most important, everybody from birth want peace, want happiness. So everybody have that right. So therefore, share, these common feeling, then respect other. On the basis of strong belief, oneness of humanity. Then no ground for violence or war. Difficult, but possible to achieve through education, not through prayer. I met someone, asked me, please pray. Then I told, I am Buddhist. In my daily practice, some prayer also there, but I do not believe prayer brings peaceful society, peaceful world. 1,000 years we pray, nothing happened. So now we should be realistic. I think theoretically, I think also realistically speaking, I often used to telling people, if we have opportunity seeing Jesus Christ and Buddha, ask them, please bring peace on this planet, then certainly they will say, who creates violence? If violence created by God, then, yes, relevant to appeal God. But violence we created. So I think certainly Buddha and Jesus Christ, I think, will tell us, you create problem. So it is your responsibility to solve this. So therefore, now, I think sometimes we, work, bring peace is difficult. The easier way is pray to God.
Your Holiness, you've spoken of the importance of education.
What?
You've spoken of the importance of education, about education being even more important, as you say, than prayer. So last November, you initiated a very important reform in Buddhist teaching, where women could aspire to the highest degree, the Geshe degree. 20 women got the Geshe degree for the first time in Buddhism in last November. How important do you think that reform is, and what kind of a struggle did you have to wage to get it through?
I think first let me finish. The on the sort of basis of basic human nature, more compassionate. Now, again, I want to tease my long-time English friend. Modern education, I think, mainly created in Europe, and particularly, I think, Great Britain. So modern education, very much oriented about material value. As far as sort of inner value is concerned, we totally rely on religious faith. In ancient time, it goes well, okay. Moral ethics, even the family, you see, carries some sort of prayer and some sort of reading some sort of Bible like that. But then modern time, now today's world, out of 7 billion human beings, around 1 billion non-believer. And then, frankly speaking, among believers, also some quite strange, mischievous believer also there. If people sincerely follow their faith, like Islam, Christian, Buddhists, Hindus, Jews, all major tradition, all major religion teach us practice of love and practice of tolerance, practice of forgiveness. So all religion, major means, you see, some local sort of, certain sort of prayer, worship some local deities or something. That's something different. But major world religious tradition all carry message of love. So then why people suppose follow this religion but create a lot of violence? Why? We do not take seriously the real message of one's own faith. That's the problem. That also, I think, due to lack of conviction, moral principle is very important to bring inner peace and happiness individual level, happiness or family level. You see, lack of conviction that. So therefore, now education should include about the value of the compassion, irrespective whether believer or non-believer follow this religion or that religion. So long we are human beings, so long we are social animal, we need, because of the warmth, because of compassion. Compassion brings you inner peace, mental peace. That also, you see, immense sort of, because of the helpful to maintain good health. Now scientists, medical scientists, they say constant anger, constant sort of fear, and too much stress is very bad for our health. Actually, constant anger, fear, eating our immune system. That's now, the medical scientists now, they are saying that. And to some extent, I think my own case, I can prove, maintain peace of mind, and your faith remain quite handsome. So it really it makes differences. Peace of mind. And the other, my friend, you see, with peace of mind, 9 hours sleep, very sound. So then, about 6, go to sleep. Then next 2 o'clock, wake up. Then for 5 hours, meditation. Meditation means training my own mind, not just a single-pointed mind, but analyze. We call vipassana, analytical meditation. That really is sharpening your mind so that when you face some problem, more sharp mind can see holistic. The reality, everything, interconnected. So once you see a whole picture, then yes, there's a negative thing, very sad. We have to make effort to overcome, but that also some positive side effect. Then the intensity of anger reduce. So with peace of mind, you can see the fuller picture, holistic. That I think only we human beings can do, other animals cannot do. So these, I think, very related with training of our mind. So therefore, so existing education system, we must include some education, some lesson about importance of warm-heartedness and how to bring, how to keep inner peace, mainly based on scientific finding, then our common experience, common sense. So I think I usually see telling these young the young girls, the young boys, you are the generation of 21st century. If you, now 21st century at the beginning, so if you make effort now, you will see later part of 20th century more peaceful, more compassionate. My generation of 20th century, you see, we create a lot of problem. Still we are creating problem. So in a way, it seems, you see, we create more problem so that there's a lot of work to solve this problem by generation of 21st century.
Your Holiness.
So now, number one, my commitment is try to promote deeper human value, not through prayer, not through religious faith, but through education. Use our common sense and scientific findings. Now, this is my number one commitment. And then,
the opening up of higher Buddhist education to women.
Then my second commitment is promotion of religious harmony. I am Buddhist. I am student of the Nalanda masters. These big sort of thinkers, they are writing. They always say, point, so that make clear everything through reasoning, not through faith, but through reasoning. So therefore, as a student of these Nalanda master, so you see, we can see, you see, different philosophical views. There are some contradictory sort of philosophies, these things. So therefore, there are, I see, differences, different philosophical views. But all major religious traditions carry same message, as I mentioned earlier, in spite of different philosophical views. So therefore, all have same potential. So there is ground to create genuine harmony among different religious traditions. Now in this country, India, 1,000 years, so religious harmony there. Over 3,000 years. Firstly, India's homegrown different religion, Sangha philosophy, then Jain philosophy, then Buddhist philosophy, then later Sikhism, these are homegrown. Beside these, there are different traditions. The Zoroastrian come from ancient Persia. Still, you see, remain in Bombay area peaceful, very peaceful. Very small population, less than 100,000 population, but very peaceful, no fear. That's India. Among millions of Hindus, millions of Christians, millions of Muslims, handful Parsi remain very peaceful. So religious harmony on the basis of mutual understanding, and in some cases mutual respect. So therefore, India, over billion populated nation, has some difficulties, problems there. Yet, religious harmony possible to carry religious harmony over 1,000 years. So therefore, I have full conviction we can develop religious harmony on this planet. As I mentioned earlier, you see, firstly, you see, we have to create personal friendship, should not isolate the other. Some of the Muslim, unlike Indian Muslim, they take for granted there are different traditions. But some Muslim country, little bit isolate, without much sort of contact. So sometimes they feel some kind of fear, or other religion might sort of cause a threat to them. So sometimes you see, even some article I heard, the Western civilization, Western democracy threatening Islam. Actually not. India, democratic country, like that. So therefore, my second sort of commitment is promotion of religious harmony. Then, within Buddhism, I'm trying now the original teaching of Buddha and Indian masters' teaching, rather than the Tibetan lamas. One place, one lama is, of course, wonderful. But sometimes with too much emphasis on one's own lineage lama, or not much emphasis the original Indian text. So I'm trying to make clear the original Indian sort of the text. This is very, very important. So therefore, so with that, I emphasis now almost 50 years, I emphasize study Buddha Dharma, these texts, very important. With that, over 40 years ago, I asked some monasteries, including nunnery, without sort of rigorous study. So I suggested you should pay more attention for study. So then nunnery, their response very good. So now over 20 years, now among the nuns, you see, really qualified through their rigorous study. So last year, I gave the sort of the highest degree, the nun kaso kishi kaso the doctorate, like that. Like that. So then, that not necessarily, you see, they directly link with my effort for democratization. Democratization is concerned, since my childhood, Tibetan sort of government system, and at that time, region there, also Lama, it's a lot of complaining, by sort of officials, government officials. When I ask, they say, everything wonderful, wonderful, like that. So my sweeper. When I ask, then they bring a lot of complaining. These people more honest. So I already sort of noticed a lot of, mistake, a lot of drawbacks due to all power in few hands. So then, soon after I took the responsibility, temporary responsibility, I set up a reform committee carrying some reform, but not very successful, because the Chinese authority, they want reform according their own way. If reform carried by Tibetans themselves, it naturally becoming more fit according to society. So that might be hindrance for their own way of reform. So then, soon after I reached India, 1959, April, we already, once we settled at Mussoorie, our cabinet minister, you see, the certain work, certain responsibility, now we sort of set up according democratic principle. And then early 60s at Bodhgaya, big Tibetan, quite big, you see, gathering there, some puja. So there, then we start the parliamentarian, we set up. And each department should have representative of the public people. So, since 60s, I sort of started the work for democratization. Then, 2001, we already achieved elected political leadership. Since then, my position is semi-retired position. Then 2011, I retired totally. Now no longer any sort of temporal responsibility. So all matter, temporal matter carried by, looked after by elected political leadership. So then, my commitment regarding Tibet, let's say preservation of Tibetan culture, including Tibetan language. Now I noticed, last now 58 years, and also wider contact with other Buddhist countries, including China. Many Chinese scholars, Buddhist scholars, I met quite regularly, and also giving some teaching. So then, Buddhists from Burma, Thailand, Sri Lanka, this is mainly the practitioner of Theravada tradition, Pali tradition. And then other sort of Buddhist countries, China, as well as Korea, Vietnam, Japan, sort of follow our same tradition, Nalanda tradition, Sanskrit tradition. So then I noticed, most of our Buddhist brothers, sisters, they expert chanting, not much study. One my friend, some of these, my close friend, then you see, they expressed to me, everybody, you see, so recite some chanting, some sutra, like Heart Sutra, Heart Sutra. Everybody is chanting, but without knowing meaning. So my friend, when we become close friends, you see, they told me. So they appreciate my explanation about these sutra. So we Tibetan case, at least 20 years, and in some cases 30 years, we study rigorously. The way we study, firstly, the root text, memorize or learn by heart. Then each word explained according commentary wrote by Indian master. Then we extensively use logic or debate. If this is so, this must be. If this is the case, that must be. So that's the way analytical, sort of what's the analyzation. This is very, very helpful to understand deeper level. So therefore, I feel preservation of Tibetan rich knowledge about Buddhist philosophy is not only concern for Tibetan people, but also I think whole Buddhist world, I feel. So like that. So these are sort of my sort of, so then environment. Tibet as a root of the world, because roof of the world. The major river which cover Yellow River in China, and then Mekong River, then Brahmaputra, and Ganges, and then in Indus rivers. All these major rivers, you see, come from Tibet. So I think, roughly speaking, I feel around 1 billion human beings' life depend on this river, this water. So therefore, they preserve, clean this water inside Tibet is something not only interest for Tibetan people, but also large number of human beings on this, in Asia, like that. So, otherwise, I have no political sort of also the responsibility, like that.
So, Your Holiness, what is then modern, in modern form, what role can religion play in governance? What relationship should religion have with politics? There's modern
I think
form.
religion have the responsibility, you see, to keep moral principle. Then in government, of course, you see
should there be a separation, church and state?
Basically, yes. Church, you mean institution of religion.
Right, exactly.
That I think should be separate. The political sort of establishment or secular, temporal sort of body and religious body, I think should be separate. My own case, now, as I mentioned earlier, you see, 2011, not only I totally retired, but also 4th century old tradition, Dalai Lama institution, automatically become head of both temporal and spirituality. Now that voluntarily, happily, proudly ceased. So sometimes I jokingly used to telling people, you see, this tradition started from, let's say, the 5th Dalai Lama. So if 5th Dalai Lama reappear, and what he going to say? But there is no such danger. So I decided.
You have democratized the temporal authority. Do you also have plans to democratize the spiritual authority in Buddhism? Where does the next Dalai Lama come from?
That's, I think, as early as 69, one of my formal statements, I stated the very institution of Dalai Lama should continue or not up to Tibetan people. They decide, they will decide. So that principle still I carry. So then later, I can't remember the year. So occasionally, from time to time, the spiritual leaders among Tibetan Buddhist tradition, you see, we gathered. So some time back, you see, we also, you see, including including the Dalai Lama institution. So we decided when my age reached around 90, then we will go into more serious discussion. Then we will decide. So at the moment, that kind of situation. Then a few years ago, I think in America, Newark, some my sort of so the program there. At that time, some media people, group of media people, you see, as usual, you see, we met. And then one French media people, media person, you see, asked me about reincarnation, about 15 Dalai Lama. Then I take my glass, then look at his face. Do you think my reincarnation is quite sort of, regarding my reincarnation is quite a hurry or not? Then he said, no hurry. So in any way, I have no botheration. That's up to people.
But Your Holiness...
But it looks, you see, Chinese government, you see, showing more serious. So then, quite sort of jokingly, sometimes I sort of express that in order to sort of involve about reincarnation, then firstly, the Chinese communists should accept the concept of rebirth. Then Chinese communists should recognize Chairman Mao Zedong's reincarnation. Then Deng Xiaoping's reincarnation. Then they have the moral sort of connection, showing concern about Dalai Lama's reincarnation. Otherwise, you see, no connection. And in former cases, some Chinese emperor actually following Tibetan Buddha Dharma and receiving teaching from some Tibetan Lama, Panchen Lama as well as Dalai Lama. So naturally, they believe reincarnation, so they showing some concern like that.
But
so this is not my sort of serious problem. No.
But you do recognize that if you don't get reincarnated in India, we'll be very upset.
Say, if the present situation remains like this, then certainly I will die in this country. So then, more logical, although you see the reincarnation not necessarily come from the area where previous person you see die, not necessary. But most probably, if I die here, in any way, you see the reincarnation properly recognized, there must be freedom. Without a freedom, everything, the parties of instruction, how can? Impossible.
Do you think that you will, in your lifetime, see a free Tibet? Do you still have hope?
I think things are changing. Now, I usually see telling Chairman Mao's era, Deng Xiaoping era, Jiang Zemin era, Wu Jintao era, now Xi Jinping era. Same party, same system, but much change, a lot of change take place. Particularly Deng Xiaoping era, you see they follow a more market-oriented economy. And as a result, huge gap, rich and poor. If Chairman Mao Zedong reappear, I think he may start another revolution. So big change. Then Jiang Zemin, three representing not only working class people, but also the cultured people or educated people. So therefore, things are changing. So that under the leadership of Xi Jinping, I think the economy and many things under his leadership, many things happen. Then one significant, he's such courageously fighting to corruptions, really. So this, I think, same party, generally same ideology, but in reality, according new circumstances, things are changing. So I feel, basically, I believe Chinese people, I think ancient people, cultured people, and hardworking, realistic people. We can see wherever is Chinese community there, they adopted new circumstances and then they carry, for example, I think many years ago, Vancouver, where? Canada, Vancouver, mayor, one Chinese. He told me when he first sort of entered Canada, about $20 in his pocket. But he started study and work. Eventually become mayor of, Vancouver. So this shows very practical, hardworking. So as a whole, Chinese brothers, sisters, really, historically, it's a cultural people, hardworking, so realistic. So therefore, and then traditionally, China, Han people, traditionally Buddhist. Wherever Chinese community there, even Muslim country like Malaysia and Indonesia, wherever Chinese community there, some Buddhist temple, like Vietnamese, wherever they live, their community, the Buddhist temple there. They keep, the Buddhist faith. So therefore, basically, I always optimistic. Things are changing. Already past over 60 years, much changed. Still changing. Like that.
Your Holiness, in about 3 weeks' time,
Huh?
you make your first visit to Donald Trump's America. Do you have a special message for the American people? Because the rise of Trump, for instance, has seen also a hardening of lines between us and them. There has been a backlash against immigration. Do you have a special message for Americans in this moment?
Of course, I love America. Really. I consider America is a leading nation of free world. Then some individual American, I don't know. I think at this moment, it's too early to say definite. So better keep quiet.
Your Holiness.
I think my visit America, I think about June, mainly medical sort of checkup. And then another university, I think San Diego University, they invited me. So this I feel useful. So whether I visit Washington or not, I not yet finalized. So, so my visit should be quiet. Go there, medical checkup, then some meeting, some students, including many Chinese students, who once demonstrated against my visit. I want to meet them. They do not know what is the reality. The Chinese government always describing me as a splitist. Actually not. Since 2000, since 1974, we fully committed not seeking independence. As I mentioned earlier, I'm one of the admirers of the European Union. So we, Tibet, materially backward. And for that, remain within the People's Republic of China is immense benefit to us. Then we have our unique cultural heritage. We must have complete freedom for preservation of our own culture, our own rich Buddhist knowledge. Eventually, I think around 400 million Buddhist population in China now. You see, they get immense benefit from Tibetan Buddhist knowledge. Already, many Chinese now showing genuine eagerness to learn from our tradition, like that. So, and then the today's world, the best language to explain about Nalanda's sort of the tradition, mainly logic, Buddhist logic, Parmana, and Buddhist philosophy, which is very similar, that is quantum physics, very similar. So these sort of difficult subject, I think now today, Sanskrit, dead language. Tibetan language is among living language which can explain very precisely about these difficult subject. So therefore, preservation of Tibetan language also very important. Inside Tibet, some narrow-minded local authority, they really trying to eliminate Tibetan language. This is due to short-sighted and out of fear. Actually, Tibetan language is the best language. So since we are not seeking separation, so Tibetan language and our knowledge is part of culture or knowledge of people's of China, like that. So therefore, that's mutual benefit, not seeking independence. Remain within the People's Republic of China, provided we should have freedom, any work for preservation of our own culture, including our own language. Then no problem. The Chinese constitution itself is recognized different sort of what call minority. They must respect their culture, like that. So like that.
Your Holiness, you've spoken about India being your guru, but you've also said that India is itself losing its connect with its own traditions of dialogue, of the kind that grew and traveled out of Nalanda. What do you mean when you say that the guru is in itself losing itself?
Before Buddhism reached to Tibet, 7th century, and then particularly since 8th century, we have our own traditional religion, not much sophisticated. Particularly since 8th century, the Tibetan emperor, although you see the family sort of marriage, through marriage is a family close connection with Chinese emperor, since Tang emperor, 7th century. So the 8th century, the Tibetan emperor himself, I think his mother, I think one Chinese princess. But he prefer, as far as Buddha Dharma is concerned, he want to bring directly from India, not through China. Although since 7th century, through marriage, the Tibetan emperor Songtsen Gampo is married with one Chinese princess. With that, one very important Buddha statue, brought from China. And till now, that statue is the most sacred Buddha statue. During Cultural Revolution, that statue also gets some punishment. some because of the some damage. But the 8th century, the Tibetan emperor, he prefer, as far as Buddha Dharma is concerned, he want to bring directly. So at that time, 8th century, I think almost top sort of scholar of Nalanda at that period, Shankarikshita, great philosopher, great logician. He invited to Tibet, and he established Tibetan Buddhism according Nalanda tradition. So he himself, our teacher, as a sort of logician, as a philosopher, so naturally he wants his student should be like that kind of sort of student. So till my generation, we extensively study Nalanda tradition, logic. We extensively use logic and Madhyamika philosophy. Therefore, you see, all our main texts, all are wrote by Nalanda master, like Nagarjuna, Aryadeva, Buddhapalita, Chandakirti, and Digna, Dharmakirti, Aryasanka, Basuband, so on. Our main text wrote by these Indians. So therefore, I consider Indian historically truly our guru. 14th century, one Tibetan scholar expressed, till light of India reached Tibet, in spite Tibet, the land of snow, so nature color of snow, white, bright. But till India's light reached Tibet, Tibet still remained dark. After light of India reached Tibet, then Tibet become bright. So that's our sort of mental attitude. So therefore, historically, truly, we are Chela of Indian. Student, Chela. Oh, you are our guru, truly. But now, I think the reality just sort of other way. The ancient Indian Chela become guru. Ancient our guru, not much knowledge about these things. So therefore, now time come, I really determined or dedicated revival of ancient Indian knowledge in this country. Not necessarily religious faith. There are multi-religious faith there. But logic is common. And the philosophical views is common. And then knowledge about mind, ancient psychology. It's something we should consider academic subject. So eventually, we already sort of committed making draft about secular ethics, which can fit in secular education field. We already committed. Many of my Indian friends, some sort of NGO also, you see now, working. So I think within this year, I think the draft could be ready. So then some school start, and then watch what result after few years. I mean, they 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and some positive result there. Then we can expand like that.